Alright, so today we're going to talk about tow hooks, or in German, Zughaken. I have only two here, but I've got lots of pictures and a decent amount of information, and I want to keep showing off the tools I have. It's been a long time since the last one. So on the left we have a C hook, on the right we have an S hook. So let's look at these a little bit closer. Okay, so the first one we have is an S hook. So this would be the first type you would see earlier in the war. This particular one is the type used on Stug 3, Panzer 3, and Panzer 4. There are lots of different sizes of these, but this is the only one that I have, and it's kind of the mid, or I guess the largest size of these, but definitely not used on the heavier vehicles. Now, there are a couple different measurements of these. Now, I just vaguely looked at how wide this was before I started the video. It's roughly like 14 inches wide. I'm sorry, I don't have anything metric to measure it with. Run the conversion. But apparently there's one that's a little bit wider or a little bit shorter. I know that there's at least two sizes of this that have been found. And there's definitely smaller types. There's one that is like just a rod that we see kind of pop up all the time for collectors anyway. And I don't know if that's been used on anything for sure. Possibly Panzer 1. I would like to find evidence of that. Then there's a flat, kind of small looking one like this, but you know, probably only about yay big, and definitely with a little bit different shape. And then there is this one in a couple different sizes. Then there are also ones that are sort of flat through here, but then become perfectly round right about here. Now let me take my original Panzer 4 tool clamp off. This is an S-hook tool clamp, by the way. It's about the most simple thing you can ever see. It is on the front left fender of a Panzer 4. And normally you would have two S-hooks stacked in here. And if we haven't gone over that, hooks are for towing tanks. You hook the S-hook like into the hull and into the tow cable here, and then you tow it. So anyway, if you look at the profile on this, it's pretty much flat all the way through. But the other type that get round through here are kind of fatter. Those are primarily used on half tracks from what I have seen and what other collectors have said. And if you look at period pictures, they're mounted with 251s, and there are many different sizes of that type. And you can see them on like FAMOs and anything that's like towing huge things or pulling out engines from Tigers. There's lots of photographs of those types of S-hooks being used with half tracks of multiple sizes. But when you see this flat type, this is usually on a tank. I don't know if that's why it's flat, but, and you can see its profile is, it's got a little bit of an interesting shape to it, but it's mostly flat. It's got a little bit of sort of a contours, I guess you'd call it. But pretty much it's just a big steel S. Like you could cave somebody's head in with it pretty good. Yeah, so these would have been on Panzer 4s and 3s. Eventually they were replaced by a different kind of towing hook, but normally on the earlier Panzer 4s you'd see two of these. These even made it onto Tiger 1 in Tunisia for some reason, and with the 501st these were on there. I don't know why that was. But definitely on Stugs and Panzer 3s you always see this kind. It is just an S hook, literally big steel S. Then you come to these. Now there are two sizes of this. This is the small size used on Stug 3, Panzer 4. I don't know if I've seen one on Panzer 3 because it wasn't really being produced as a battle tank by the point that these were in use. But definitely Stug 3 and Panzer 4. So it's equivalent in size to this S-hook, although you can see the S-hook's quite a bit bigger. But the vehicles they towed were about the same. But a lot of people see these on models and they don't have any idea what they are. And I've also noticed on restorations that people don't have real ones and they make kind of a fake looking thing. Like if you look at the Overloon Museum in the Netherlands, they have fake ones, fake C-hooks on their Panther. It's just kind of a pet peeve of mine. But so essentially what it is, so I mean if it's not obvious, SC, you know, that's why they're called what they're called. So the C-hook still has two places you can hook a cable or a part of a tank to, but it has this locking thing on it. So there's a like a thing here that you can unscrew, and there's a spring under tension inside of here. And the spring is pulling this thing down at all times. So how it functions is you pull it up and turn it, then you have the clearance to put in your tow hook or slide it into the eyelet on the tank, and then you close it back up, and in theory it shouldn't be able to get off of whatever you just hooked it to. It is pretty difficult. I know that that's not terribly visible, and this top-down view is probably not great for it, but you can really just sort of pull, and with the weight of the hook pulling down, it'll function. But that's really all it is, and luckily mine functions still. But it's all steel. There's a rod and a spring, and then it locks into these two holes there with these two little tabs on the sides of that thing. So there's a much larger size of this for Tiger 1 and Panther, and obviously King Tiger as well. Strangely, this part is much shorter on that one, but the rest of the hook is much, much larger. And I was able to get one of these affordably, but those Panther Tiger ones, it's like stupid money. Like you can buy a pretty crappy old car for what they cost. But that's pretty much all there is to the C hooks and the S hooks. They're not that complicated, but a lot of people have never played around with them, which I guess why would you? I found a few other collectors, but not many. I'm not interested in spending money to get the other type of C hook unless it like falls in my lap. And then the fact that there's lots of different other S hooks, I find that interesting, but I've spent too much time investing in tool clamps to go after S hooks at this point. So, but that's a C hook. It's simple, but really interesting and really cool. It weighs a lot, 20 pounds at least, I would say. So that's all I have. Short video today. I'll catch you guys later.